Hello, welcome everybody. We are going to be talking about Moodle and EQUELLA together. So it's the EQUELLA fella himself, Simon Wilkinson.
Follow me on Twitter, please.
The product director of EQUELLA, and we're just going to talk a bit about the bit of a process we had working together on the new repository stuff in 2.3 and the repository plugins. So just starting off, I think we've got orange and blue slides, so we'll be doing a bit of orange. Orange, excellent. So we at the Moodle have been developing these repository plugins for a long time. I had it in my head maybe 6 years ago or something like that. And it wasn't until Moodle 2 that we actually were able to implement the start of it. The problem with Moodle 1 was there was just too many people dumping too many files into Moodle in a quite unstructured way. With these a course folder, basically, which was a real directory on the disk. And originally I did do it that way because it was very hackable. You had a directory on disk, you could FTP into it, you could set up aliases if you knew Unix, and you could do all sorts of tricks on the back end. But it was a pretty difficult process to get files from the internet into Moodle. You had to download them onto your computer. People wouldn't know where their download directory was, then they had to try and find those files and get them up into Moodle, and it was, teachers would just get lost. We also had a lot of security and consistency issues. The files that were sitting in that course directory had no individual permissions. So one classic case was there's a lecturer who was giving out assignment 1.pdf to the students, and then after they did the assignment, he'd hand out a solution 1.pdf. Then next assignment was assignment 2.pdf. It did not take a genius to work out that if you changed the URL and went to solution 2.pdf, you could get that before the assignment had finished, because there was no checking on this. So the solution was, for the first part, we had the repository API, which was to make it easy to get files directly from repositories all over the internet into Moodle. And we implemented 2 different methods. There's the copy method, where you copy the file in, and there's the link method, where you basically get a URL. And it's just an HTTP link to that file. So the photo might stay out on Flickr, and you've just linked it into your content in Moodle. In that second case, if the file disappears off Flickr, the photo goes off Flickr, it'll also break the web page. That was enough for then. And then the second part we did was the file API in Moodle for storing the files properly. We introduced the system of file areas. So each activity in Moodle now defines a file area, and the activity is responsible for all access to the files in that area. So if the assignment module says you can't access these files until this date, every time anyone tries to access that file, Moodle will ask the assignment module, is it available? Do they have permissions? Are the dates correct? Whatever you want, whatever logic you define, just tell me yes or no. And so all the parts of Moodle have control access to files, and so that got rid of all the security problems. And also, if you wanted to move an activity from one course to another, all the files associated with activity moved with it. We couldn't do that before either. So we fixed a lot of things. We still had a remaining problem. We were copying all this stuff from repositories designed to hold files into Moodle. And that's where that problem was in Moodle 2.2.
He's got the flu, so 3 meters. We've had an integration with Moodle for about 7 years, so it's been we've been with Moodle for some time. But when Martin's team released the repository and file API, we decided to do an integration to try and leverage the new enhancements. And we found that the file picker was fairly limited, it was fairly clunky, the UI, I'll show you a photo of it in a second, and that it mandated a specific user interface experience. And what you were doing, you were putting a enterprise learning content management system behind this interface. And so it diminished all the good work that we've done at the back end of this great learning content management system, and we couldn't really get access to the files. We had to do some hackery. I think I got that word from our architect Nick, who worked with, did a lot of work with Martin. And we did some hackery, and we sort of got it working, and it was okay. And it was to the point where we were starting to make some progress around those issues. And then we found out that there was no version control either, and that was something we've always had in our integration. So we've gone from having this system that had all these things that we could do with version control and being able to control and abstract the content out of the system because of a couple of the issues that Martin's just discussed there. So we also have, it handled photographs really well and single access objects, so one-to-one relationships quite well, but a complex object like an encapsulated website or a SCORM package or you name it, it didn't handle that very well at all, and we found that we had to do some even more hackery. And we couldn't sort, we couldn't filter the results, and we couldn't leverage some of the advanced search functionality within EQUELLA. It was pretty limited. And one of the things that we like to be able to do within our integration is to be able to select a number of learning assets and put them together and then push them into Moodle. And you could really only select one at a time, go back in, and it's just killing people's fingers or clicking too many times. So what we did is we started work. This was the old one. This is actually the old one with the wild hair and the things. So this was the old file picker, and this is the integration that we did with the old repository API in the file picker. So you would see that the idea was that objects were being viewed more as files, as a hierarchical file structure, and we could thumbnail the images and you could select them, but it was pretty limited. I think you're orange next, eh? I'm not sure. Yes, you are.
Yes.
You are.
We got in touch. Actually, we started talking last week it was in Sydney, about trying to improve this situation. And after a bit of a slow start, I guess it was early this year, late last year, we finally got together, and the EQUELLA guys came over for a couple of days at Moodle HQ, hung out in our meeting room, and we sort of hashed out all the details to try and make the APIs on both sides support this scenario where files remain out in the repositories. So this is where I need to show you again.
I have a great coffee machine, you guys do. So we're there for 3 days, once business happens.
Actually, the beer dispenser as well.
Oh, yeah, we did that.
Okay. So I'm going to use that course I was using this morning, which of course doesn't matter too much. So adding an activity, and I'm just going to add a file. So I'm going to EQUELLA. This is the testing EQUELLA instance that we've been using. Now, the first thing that we've got new is that the repository can now take over the whole interface. This lets EQUELLA decide what happens in there. That's great, because I don't want to know. Right? All I want to know from the Moodle side at the end, I want to know the metadata for the file getting passed back, and so it passes it back using JavaScript. This interface could have anything in it. It could, and we'll talk about what we'll have in it later, but you can add a lot more stuff in here. So let's say, for example, we can just browse what's there by default. There's a whole lot of resources in here. And you can also search.
Type slow on what you're showing now.
Oh,
Text conversion.
oh yeah, let's do that. I never type this. This is very nice. Mr. Moodle is in fact my dog. He is a Moodle, and his name is Mr. So in EQUELLA you have, I'm not sure the terminology actually, you have collections and resources within the collections. So I can just select that picture. It gets brought in here. We're still doing a bit of work to actually show some of the extra metadata in here. That's coming up. It's copied in here the name of the owner, the author from EQUELLA, which, because it's a demo site like devs, is not very realistic looking, but it is in fact the name that is set in that resource in EQUELLA. I can rename it here if I want to. So get the thumbnails, get the picture, it's showing in Moodle, and so on. Here's a cute dog. We have a folder. It is possible to link directly to the collection. And I can try this lately, so I hope it works. Yeah. On this one? Yeah, that's just yeah, but I want to try and select this other.
Select the action line.
Not sure what's happening there. Yeah.
There you go, select summary page.
Ah, there we go, select the summary page. Now, this actually selects the top level of the collection. So if it's a collection with multiple things in it, you can select that as well. And I'm curious as to how this is going to look actually. So when you click on it, it actually, because it's not actually a document, it's actually redirecting to EQUELLA to show you that summary page that can contain multiple resources. I'm glad that's good. Now, for the more technical minded, the way this is working under the hood is that Moodle is not storing this stuff, even if it's not a link. It's actually It's redirecting to EQUELLA all the time. So whenever you try and access something, one of these things that came from EQUELLA, Moodle basically says, okay, someone's trying to access this referenced file. It talks to the EQUELLA repository and says, where is the content for this thing? The EQUELLA repository says, well, actually, you need to redirect to this URL. The URL it gives you is a special URL generated at that moment, and it has a token in it. And it's a short-lived token, and it's generated specifically for that user at that point in time. So you can't just take that URL and just start giving it to other people because it doesn't work. So the content is protected. EQUELLA is still protected, Moodle's in charge of the access to it. And that's the beautiful thing. Now, because I've linked to these things, if they get updated in EQUELLA, it also gets updated in Moodle straight away, because it's just redirecting to EQUELLA every time. You may have noticed this morning I was showing some repositories and there was a little option at the top to select, to make an alias or not. In this case, because EQUELLA is only supporting aliases, there's no option. It's just always doing aliases all the time. All the content always stays in the repository. Wow. Whoa. Right. Get moving. Right, I told you we were going to I told you. I forget how much I thought. That's fine. Right. That's your board. Right. I'll just quickly talk about the benefits of the repository. Had a lot of people come up and say, why do we need to use EQUELLA? And if you store your content centrally, you can manage it. You can remove duplication. You can version control it. What you really want to do is you need to abstract your content from your presentation. So Martin's dealing with the presentation, the education side of it. We're taking the content and we're dealing with managing that. And you spend money, and time and effort developing this content. So it'd be nice to know whether people are using it, whether or not you can improve it, reversion it, put it through workflows and ensure that it's the best it can be. So what our system allows you to do is it allows you to tag the content, search for it. Martin was doing searches before. That was all against our metadata. One of the things we didn't show you is you can also embed specialised searches in the page inside the file picker. So come around and have a look at another demo and I'll show you one that we've got as a bell quickly. Permission, so we've got a fairly powerful permission model. We've also got the ability to manage the full life cycle of the object. So it's not just a matter of creating it, it's a matter of maintaining it and managing it. There were some questions earlier in Martin's keynote that was about reporting, about sort of reporting on usage. We can generate reports, and there's someone that needs to come to this presentation, about graphing the actual performance or graphing the actual usage of an asset. We can produce pie charts, we can produce bar charts, we can produce all sorts of things, and show people that we know who's accessed it and when. We also, in EQUELLA, have to know where the assets sit in Moodle. So we know which courses they've been used in and by whom. We've also got functionality that can push objects from EQUELLA directly into Moodle as well too. So there's all this, we're building this ecosystem around managing digital assets for Moodle users. Talked about workflow, managing the quality assurance aspects of digital assets. One of the biggest problems with a repository is that people put junk in it. So you've got to make sure that it's quality digital assets. Digital rights management, need to make sure that people are attributing ownership of objects under the particular license agreements. Copyright management, we can also manage assets that are under the Copyright 5B Compliance Act as well too. So there's a lot of universities here and a lot of TAFEs, so we can do that as well. We support all major e-learning standards. We now support streaming media. We support SCORM tracking. We support every major e-learning standard out there. And any digital asset you put in our system will work and you can tag it. We also have the ability to harvest content from other sources, bringing in free content. EQUELLA actually has a free open educational resource library of 500,000 free digital assets that can be brought into Moodle straight away. So it's called oer.equella.com. Write it down, tweet it to your friends. You're welcome. No, we haven't got much time, so I think you've said it all basically.
Okay, no worries.
Moodle does not want to be building repositories. We want to link to repositories. Oh, that's what they do.
That's right, cool. And we don't want to be building our businesses. We want to be building. Want to sit down now? So we've got an ongoing relationship with Moodle AU, so strengthening that. Also want to help you guys go from 1.9 to 2. I think that's really important. A lot of you are sitting back saying, "Oh, what are we going to do with our digital assets?" We've got scripts that will pull it all out and show it in. Also, we want to make sure that once again we continue to listen to what you've got to say. So this is an ongoing relationship. We want to make sure that the next iteration of this, the community who you are a large part of, has input into that. So we're going to be putting issues up for the next release of what we want to do with this integration. We want you to participate in that and to provide feedback. And this is largely due to discussions with a lot of our clients around how the integration should work. And we're really pleased with how this has come out, and really it's been a great opportunity for Martin and I to sort of get together and marry these two great technologies. And we're really excited how it's all come out. And the roadmap there, I'm going to publish a lot of the things that are going to be on the roadmap. I don't necessarily want to talk about this. Martin and I are going to chat regularly, which we do anyway. We're going to talk about ensuring that everybody gets a say on this. Here's some of the things that we want to include in the roadmap. We want to look at contribution processes for the different destinations. So when you drag and drop into the EQUELLA. Resize the file picker. It didn't quite get in there.
It didn't quite make it to 2.3.
We need to hack that, but that's all right. So we're looking at how we manage forum and private posts, a whole bunch of other things we need to look at. We've got some exciting things that are coming out for even just in 2.3.1 and subsequent releases of Moodle. Now we've actually released EQUELLA 5.2 QA2, which is to coincide with Martin's release of 2.3. So those two releases happen within a week of each other. And our release was actually all the changes that you see here, with all the changes that we need to make from our code base to coincide with that release. So once again, happy to field any questions. I think they're just out there, are we, mate? Well, how do you quite?
Well, I really think that this is realising the repository integration I was dreaming of for years, and it's using repositories to its strength. And together, I think they work really well. I'm really happy we've got this one. Yes, sir.
How does the initial permissions work when someone adds something to a course from EQUELLA? What permissions does that object maintain? Because it would be the teacher's permissions, because they left and no longer have permissions as well as you know.
No, once it's in Moodle has complete control of the permission.
Okay, so Moodle is kind of authenticating to EQUELLA for that stuff.
Yes, the token system is dependent on the original person. So the original person gives it that original link. But then after that, if you basically, as the person who owns that in EQUELLA, I've given it Moodle permission to give it to other people.
And that lasts beyond that.
So that's how it works with, like, for example, Dropbox. Your private, very private repository can be given.
If you ask a question, you get a free T-shirt. So.
And I'm wearing mine,
Any other questions?
With the reporting, you've got reporting built in there as part of it. Things like Dismal, it also does essentially the Dismal code. Now, what's the similarity between Dismal and Dismal?
In EQUELLA, our reporting we use a business intelligence reporting tool, which is an open source reporting tool. We can generate reports based on what's in our database. So we log access. So we log who's accessed it, when, from where, all sorts of information about the asset. And then what we do is we write reports that will actually harvest that data, collated into a readable form and then developed and generated.
But does that appear in Moodle as one thing
No.
called?
No, you run it inside a column.
So,
There's no special-
so it's really
There's no
collecting
special-
stats on the repository, not collecting stats to Moodle.
Correct.
So there are two different things.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Someone asked me a question before about his reporting as well as ours reporting. Shane? Shane?
No, I just want
I don't know
to-
your name.
I just want to-
He wants attention.
What's the back corner? The back corner never gets any love.
Yeah.
With the short-lived token, is that a Moodle thing or an EQUELLA thing?
It's an EQUELLA thing.
EQUELLA thing.
Actually, the Moodle, from our side of things, we give control to the repository plugin to do all sorts of different things. They don't have to do this redirect thing. Some of them may pull the data in and cache it in Moodle and update that cache on a Chrome or anything. There's like a load of different things that we can do inside Moodle. But for this particular integration, we did the redirect. The EQUELLA repository plugin generates all the tokens. You just hand it off.
Does EQUELLA retain the version history?
The what?
The version history, so if you've got
Yes.
different versions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
And you can, and within the plugin as well, and what we didn't show you can ask it to always present this version or the current version. So it has the concept of the current version of the document, which is obviously the latest live version of it, or you can say always point at this version. And if you had it in 5 courses, you can say always present this document to these courses. And if you updated that document, it just updates across the e-learning. Absolutely. The question was, can you set up a workflow to validate? To validate the quality assurance of the object, and you can set it up so that it has to be unanimous. Where there can be parallel serial processes. There can also be email notifications sent at any point. If someone rejects an object, then there's a very complicated workflow that you can build into workflows. And I can show you that as well when it comes to Moodle.
All stuff I never wanted to do.
He doesn't want to know about it.
Just another question on versioning. Could Moodle display a list of the 3 recent versions, for example? Let's say you've got a document that's being updated on a regular basis and people working on it. Could Moodle expose the fact that the latest version was today at 2 o'clock and then the version before that was yesterday at 3 o'clock? Would that be visible through a Moodle interface?
That screen that you generate.
It is in the interface.
Yeah, it's in the interface. Yeah.
And one of the things on the roadmap thinking about is uploading files into EQUELLA through that interface.
Yeah. You don't get a t-shirt. It depends on the permission model. So I can block access. We have a very powerful permission model. We can block that according to the role, the group, or the actual user, or what metadata is actually inside an item itself. So we can say if there's a metadata tag, then don't show these guys, but show them. Very, very granular. So and in fact, we can make it so that people sitting within a particular IP range of the network can only read certain assets. So it's very, very granular. Well, and Alfresco, they're just different content management systems. I'm here to talk about it. Sorry. Ours is specifically designed for the education market. It's a learning content management system that was built specifically for the education market. We support all major e-learning standards, and we're going to continue to do that. Question?
Yeah, so in terms of the file, does Moodle let EQUELLA know that it's using its resources such that if someone went into EQUELLA and actually deleted the file or removed it, that EQUELLA would stop it because it knew it was being shared by Moodle?
So you're deleting it from where? You're deleting it from Moodle?
No, from EQUELLA.
Deleting it from EQUELLA?
Yeah, so to stop like dead links, I suppose.
Yeah, well, we actually have a system for doing that. It's not in the plugin yet.
It's not in the plugin, but it might be coming.
But see, the plugin could
Do
you
that.
know, it could do that.
Yeah, it is fun to talk back rather than just a one-way type. Yeah, okay.
Someone write that down.
I'll write it for you.
Looking at powerful permissioning models, if in EQUELLA you change permission, how does that work for everything that's listed from the resources? Do the students still have access despite the owner of the asset has changed in EQUELLA?
It depends on what the owner of the asset is able to do. So the permissions flow through. It really depends what you want to do. You can make assets publicly viewable, or you can say this is a closed asset. We also have the concept of a closed repository inside EQUELLA too. It's like a personal repository too, so we can bring things out. Sorry, there was another lady just sitting in front of me.
Mine's more expensive, like picking up one by one, you have a file, you can't folder, you can't pick it from the other folder.
You might just yourself. I'll talk to you about that, yeah. Gentleman up the back.
How close are we to being able to drag and drop straight into EQUELLA from Moodle?
That's all right.
You mean like into the file picker from your desktop?
Yeah.
I can't see it being that hard.
It's pretty easy.
That's not my problem. Alright, last one.
What functionality does EQUELLA offer in terms of the difference between assets, versions of assets, like Word documents, for example? Is there any change, visibility of difference between objects? Let's say each paragraph is added to a Word document, right? Is there an interface that will show the difference between yesterday's version and today's version? Yeah, there is. Yeah.
No, there's not. But there's plans to look at that. We're actually building a sort of viewing inside the file. So I'll talk about version.
Can't hear you, Wilco.
It's all right. Martin's about to wrap up anyway, so
We'll wrap up. Actually, there's one more thing I want to say. One thing I need to point out, which is at the Moodle point, when you're asking for the resource, we support file types. So if you're in the editor and you're inserting an image, Moodle passes that, and you only see repositories that have images. And when you go into EQUELLA, you only see the images as well. So you can't put a Word document into it.
Please thank Science and Martin.